What is up, entrepreneurs? You're tuned into the Non-Corporate Network, the worldwide leader in entrepreneurship. You're watching Entreprenews. This is a show where we talk about the top 6 trending small business headlines, 3 minutes each. My name is Chaz Vandemotter.
I'm Dustin Trout.
And we are happy that you're with us. I'm sorry, but it's not free to listen today. You got to pay your toll. You don't have to give us any money, though. Don't worry. You just have to tell an entrepreneur about us. You got to tell a business owner about us. We want to keep them woke. We want to keep you woke. Undiluted, real truth, hard-hitting stories. Dustin, anything you want to add to that intro?
No, I just appreciate you guys tuning in. Happy Friday. If you're looking for other places where you can hear or watch us, pretty much anywhere where you can consume content. You can find us on YouTube, Google Podcasts, iTunes, anywhere. Search Entreprenews.
Entreprenews. Just spell it out. I know it's kind of crazy, but we have problems spelling the word entrepreneur too. So it's just literally with the W, Entreprenews. Looking forward to winning today, Dustin.
Absolutely not. You ready to dive in?
Let's get it.
Let's dive right in. All right. So a new dawn on Broadway. So some of the $2 trillion stimulus has dried up in some industries. One specifically is the arts and culture industry. This includes everything from Broadway shows to Hollywood studios. The industry is actually responsible for 4.5% of the U.S. GDP and accounts for over 5 million jobs. So a good chunk of money exchanging hands there. Performers and artists are coming together to try and pass legislation, essentially asking for their own bailout to the tune of $44 billion to keep the industry alive. Chaz, the question is $44 billion, enough to keep it alive? Is that well spent there? I mean, it's a good chunk of GDP and a good chunk of overall jobs. Yep. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, $44 billion is no small amount of money, right? And if you think about the 50 million people that are employed, you divide that by $44 billion. And if you were to just divide this money up and hand out a check to every one of those people, you're looking at about $8,800 a person. And that doesn't factor in bailing out all of these movie theaters. That doesn't factor in, bailing out all the places that put on these Broadway shows. And I mean, that's just scratching the surface, right? You got movie studios. I mean, there's so much. So I wonder what that breakdown looks like. Because is this in the name of, providing stimulus to the workers? Or is this in the name of keeping the businesses afloat? Because, when you look at how many people are involved in this industry and how many businesses are involved in this industry, it starts to seem like a pretty minuscule amount is either going to be given out to the actual people that are out of work right now or to the actual businesses. And furthermore, we've reported on the movie theater side. I mean, it's been a stagnant growth industry for the last 15 years. So are we really going to bail them out if they're already shrinking with all this technology and everything coming with streaming?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, whenever you put it like that, it is tough. I mean, especially as cases are growing. I mean, this is an industry where you gather and you have people. And so it is tough, but I mean, it does account for 4.5% of overall US GDP. So, I mean, like I said, it is a big chunk. But I think, overall, is it the best place to spend money? I mean, I don't think so. I think there are better places. I think this is one that we kind of agree on here. But I mean, yeah, that 44 billion is quite a bit. I mean, if you what does that come to every citizen in America if you do the number? You know what I mean? Like if you were to give 44 billion to over the course of the country.
It's crazy though. I mean, because the GDP is something to consider, and we are the movie capital of the world, right? Everyone thinks about Hollywood when they think about the U.S. And so if we just kind of let our kind of trademark die here in terms of what we have on the ticker is, hey, U.S. is synonymous with the production, and we let that fall by the wayside. That's our culture that's dying, and so I think that we run that risk for sure. But hopefully we can come up with at least a breakdown of where that money's going to go before we write the check.
Yep. So going on to our next story. So a company called Otter introduces live captions for Zoom calls. So Otter has announced the launch of its latest offering, Otter Live Captions for Zoom. That provides a live transcription for Zoom meetings. And really what this does is, I'm sure you've been on a Zoom call where someone's talking and it breaks up and you can't hear what they said and you have to ask them to repeat. This would essentially take what was said and have it as a caption. So you'd have less of the, what was that? You were breaking up. More so, it does transcribe the whole meeting. So it takes meeting notes. It can gather ideas. It's all powered by AI, and their whole goal is just to make meetings more productive. You're having more and more businesses work from home, and especially with the rise in cases now, it's probably only going to grow as people started getting back to work. And so, it's there's nothing worse than being on a Zoom call and just having to, what was that? What did you say for 2 minutes? And so, but this does open up, cybersecurity liability. If everyone's conversations are being documented and recorded, they get attacked. Could this bring up liability on someone that said something over Zoom that they didn't know they were being recorded?
This ain't nothing new, Dustin. They've been recording the calls since they've launched the company, man. Now it's just people are upset about it. They found out
turned into a feature.
Well, that's the whole thing. Oh, it's a feature now. So it's cool that you're stealing our data and sharing it with Facebook and all these other companies and monetizing it further. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I wonder, are they going to allow you to transcribe if somebody's on mute? Because that's like the classic Zoom call nausea is people on mute that are talking. It's one of those things too, where it's like, obviously this is a stepping stone of innovation that takes us to the next level, right? I don't think that giving me a transcript of the conversation is something that I'm going to be able to use and apply to, what I'm doing in business. Like I don't need the whole transcript. I need a couple bullet points. So I'm sure that these are going to become more and more sophisticated, and natural language processing is going to kind of filter it down and make this information usable. But, I think we really do run the risk of the cybersecurity side of things where we don't really know what's happening with that data. And now who knows who's listening? Are they flagging specific words that you say? Is your boss going to know that you mentioned them in a negative way on a Zoom call in a 100,000 person organization? Like, these are things that I think are going to be detrimental to the customer experience for workers, specifically having to look over their shoulder the entire time they're having a conversation.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of tools like this. It's pretty cool. They actually integrate to like project management tools, so you can say a keyword, it'll create a task and all that. So I think it makes things more efficient. Cool. And there was a podcast I was listening to recently where they were talking about they let their clients know that it's all being recorded, and they do something like this where they transcribe it. But then they did like keyword clouds, and they did more analysis on what are the common words, phrases, questions being asked during just client calls. And then they proactively started building in analytics or whatever it may be to help answer that. It's it's tough to figure out what are the common trends. And so
what's your valuable sales too? You got like unicorns like Gong.io that are coming out like off of this whole like NLP of reading the transcripts of sales conversations. So there's definitely a lot of business value, but yeah, how long are we going to let it go where we're giving up our data and not worrying about it?
Yep. So bringing it back here to Arizona. So some in Scottsdale will get deliveries from Walmart autonomous vehicles from Cruise. And so Cruise was the company over in California that got the first rubber to cement. And so here they're attacking Arizona as well. And so Walmart will launch a new autonomous delivery service in Scottsdale over the next year. Doesn't exactly say what specific locations, just that it'll be in Scottsdale. It is the third autonomous project that Walmart has launched here in Arizona. And Arizona has been a hotbed for electric vehicles. Really, all it takes to get electric vehicles on the road, you really just need a statement saying that this vehicle is safe to the Department of Transportation and that it can follow traffic laws. The other thing is that it can stop if it were to malfunction. And so, with this, is this good? Is this bad for jobs for, the local area? And really, is Arizona being too easy when it comes to getting unmanned vehicles on the road?
Well, obviously Arizona is trying to be this hotbed for electronic vehicles, and they've done that. There's a lot going on here between Nikola, between Tesla. It is becoming a place that people are coming to for electronic vehicle stuff. So I think it makes sense that they're allowing for these laws to be a little bit malleable for these types of initiatives. You wonder what's the cost of this. And, you hope that now if we're going residential and you're driving around the neighborhood and dropping the groceries off at someone's house, like obviously a lot of question marks. What is the gate just going to open and you're going to get your groceries out of the back of the car, or there are kids in the street and the car is going to stop. Like you wonder what that looks like when you start laying in a layer of consumer consumption into this. But, overall, we're trying to be innovative in some way and try to become like new Silicon Valley a little bit here. So, it makes sense that they would make the laws like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it. I love the progression of it. I mean, I think one thing that a lot of people aren't realizing is, the baby boomer generation, it soon is gonna, not be immobile, but, more and more is gonna be immobile. And I think it's a bigger population than most realize. And there's gonna be problems that we, don't even realize now. Like, how do you get groceries to them? How can they go to the store? They
don't want to go to the store. They have special hours in the mornings because people don't want to be around other people and with COVID and everything. So yeah, no, that's a great point because that's going to be a huge part of the population. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's how do you serve them? It's, I mean, it could be jobs where someone else could be delivering, but I think, this makes it pretty efficient, but I think there are a lot of things to think through. I mean, for example, if you go to a gated community, how are you going to get that vehicle over the gate into to your house? I think there are a couple things. I mean, does that mean you can't serve? Yeah. And so, but I mean, it is cool that Arizona does bring that innovation. Hopefully,
think about having to DoorDash and Instacart too. Like they better get on this autonomous vehicle thing or they're gone. Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get into the next story, I want to mention that we are powered by State 48. State 48, I got a nice little backtrack. I was feeling it. State 48, it feels like you're getting a massage wearing its shirt. Like, I mean, it's 2 for 1. You get a massage all day and you wear a cool shirt. Like, I think a lot, and it's more than just shirts, but they're doing a lot of cool stuff. So, Dustin, anything you want to mention about State 48? Yeah,
they're partnering with a lot of small businesses, helping them brand themselves in a cool, comfortable way, and then partnering with a lot of nonprofits. And the proceeds do go to what those nonprofits are pushing for. So they're just an awesome company. Check them out, state48.com.
Thank you guys for setting a good example and getting the small businesses involved. That's what we like to see. Getting into our next story. The path continues with this one, Dustin. I mean, we talked about this for a while. Apple may appease antitrust concerns by suggesting third-party apps to iPhone users. This one's been on the docket. We've been going back and forth and trading blows for the last few months, Dustin. Is this Apple thing antitrust? Is this something that because they have a marketplace? Essentially, the backstory is that because they have, full reign over the App Store, that they can prioritize Apple Music over Spotify. They can prioritize their Safari browser over Google Chrome and really kind of force these offerings onto people where they actually have to go out of their way to say, no, I don't want that. I want something else. And so obviously it's pretty anti-competitive behavior if you ask me. But they're saying that maybe now they're going to give you an option on Apple Music or Spotify, or they're going to give you an option on Safari or Google Chrome. What are your thoughts here? Does this appease the antitrust altogether? Is this a way to end it for Apple and move on?
No, I think it always goes back to, don't rely on building your business by playing on someone else's playground. I think, I hear the complaints, but at the end of the day, you got to drive your own customer acquisition. And that being said, I mean, even though it's digital, it's still, we were talking about it before, kind of compare it to a store. This would be like Fry's because they have the Kroger brand and they have it on sale near the entrance. You don't have an antitrust case for them because Wonder Bread is complaining that Fry's prioritized display units to push their own brand. I mean, they hold the where the people are coming in. And so I think it still holds true there. I think Spotify and these other companies need to do a better job at not relying on iTunes and these other marketplaces that these other companies control. I mean, it's, that they're trying to get more people to be on Apple Music because they get more activations and it drives revenue. I mean, they have shareholders to appease. And I mean, you're not going to make Kroger rearrange their store because they are prioritizing their product ahead of others.
Yeah, but I understand that. Obviously, Apple's much more of a monopoly than Kroger is, but the tides are turning. I mean, you got like maybe a little over 60% iPhone use in the US. It's just hard because, the antitrust that you're seeing that's happening with Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, it's all because they have a marketplace and then they have their private goods, whether it's ad inventory or their own products. and they use that marketplace to exploit their products and prioritize their products. And that is anti-competitive. And so it is the question that your marketplace should be separate from your products, because they built these marketplaces, to be able to sell more than just their products, yet it's their products that are the ones that are benefiting most. So it's like, that's the trend across all of these antitrust lawsuits right now. And, I think that's the precedent that needs to be set, is which one are you? And is there a division there? But
I don't think you can force them to control their product placement. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's hard to argue that the grocery point, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Next story here: sales during Singles Day Festival in China surpassed 2019's 38 billion official tally. Alibaba added several days and additional services to counter for the first time. So essentially what's happening here is that Alibaba has created their kind of version of Prime Day around the Singles Day holiday in China, which is new news to me. But they grossed $75 billion during this shopping binge that they're calling it, over a couple of days. It begs the question. I mean, Prime made $10 billion off of their Prime Day. So this is 7.5x the revenue of Prime Day. On top of what is mind-boggling to me, at its height, they were processing over 580,000 orders per second, Dustin. So, obviously e-commerce is here to stay. Obviously COVID is pushing us more towards this e-commerce model. Is Alibaba going to be able to compete with Amazon? Is that even an option that's on the table?
Yeah, I mean, it's that they're already doing 7X. I mean, they have a global foothold. I've been seeing them more and more here in America. So it's only a matter of time before they penetrate more of the American market. And I mean, you've been bringing it up quite a bit, how Amazon just squeezes, their retailers on their platform. Yeah. And so with this, they're going to come out and offer something that's maybe half the cost, and you're going to see an exodus of Amazon. And now Amazon is no longer as big as it was. And like I've been saying, it just takes a competitor to come in and be more competitive. Yeah. It's it'll be interesting to see. It'll be what I question though is, I mean, you got a company that's coming in from China that's going to compete with an American company. I mean, is that good for the American citizens? I mean, from a business perspective, love seeing the competition, but from a
that's a good point.
America first position or whatever it may be. I mean, is this good for our economy?
Well, how much money are you gonna have to pour into the logistics that Amazon has created in America? I mean, they have those logistics in terms of international shipping and things like that, but we're talking about how are you going to compete with 2-day? I mean, people in America are paying for the convenience. I think that the one big thing, and you wonder if this was part of the business model all along, was Amazon just trying to grow their market share to then squeeze all of their vendors out and just make all the products themselves? And they knew that was just a growth tactic where their store will still be just as robust off of their private labeled stuff. Because that's the big threat to them, is that Alibaba can come in and go, listen, all of you people that are using Amazon to distribute your products, come over to Alibaba and you're only going to have to pay 10% instead of 30% for FBA. And now, there's the exodus, and we almost have like an eBay versus Amazon kind of, fight on our hands again, like we did maybe 10 years ago.
Yep. And that's why I always love the true market is, sure, you can gain a monopoly and then you start taking advantage of it. And then soon a competitor comes in. And I mean, that whole thing and their whole model, I mean, it makes sense from a long-term perspective, but if it's not executed correctly and someone comes in, I mean, you could lose half of the people selling your platform, which not as rich of a man.
Apparently they're getting antitrusted out there in China or something like that, though. So it may slow them up a little bit. But either way, moving into our next story, again, bringing it back to Arizona, Creighton School District switching back to remote learning immediately starting Friday. So essentially the breakdown is that per capita COVID cases per zip code trigger a green, yellow, or red school district kind of flag. And so depending on how many people are infected, tells you how much school is going to be in person. And so we were on green for like half a second, and now we're back to yellow for a while, which was like in person for like 2 or 3 days a week, kind of like college style, where you just go in for a few lectures, limited capacity. Now we're back to red. And so, I mean, it brings up the question, like we're going on like over a full school year. This has been, half of 2 different school years. So half of people's high school experience has been spent mostly looking at a Zoom call. Like, Dustin, what's the deal with this? Is this how we should be educating people during this time?
It's tough, and I don't understand why they can't make a hybrid model. I think, it's tough to learn. I mean, it's tough to teach 30 students in a classroom while they're there right there in front of you, let alone through a computer screen. I mean, I'm all for technology and all of that, but it makes it difficult to educate. And as you mentioned, this is starting to get prolonged, and then you start to worry, what does the education look like in America, as some of these students are going 2 years or whatever it may be to where they're not having in person. I don't understand why they can't do in person and virtual to where, I mean, if you have someone in the family that's at high risk, you're virtual. If you're okay, then maybe you go to the classroom, and that way it kind of mixes it up. But it's, I'd hate to, again, I'd hate to see it all virtual. I think we could get there, but this was done so quickly that there aren't checks and balances or process to figure out if this form of education is actually working. And I think that's what's missing is it's convenient now, but we don't know if this is actually working. And so
when you're removing humanity from the equation, you're removing this social experience of high school from the equation, which is just a shame, But the thing that I'm wondering is, how are we able, Dustin, to innovate the entire way that we go about going to school over the course of like a 3-month window, but we haven't innovated the curriculum in 20, 30, 40, 50 years,
80, 100 years,
million years. It's like, we're talking about things that have nothing to do with, being a human in this society, yet we can innovate the technology used to teach an outdated curriculum. It blows my mind. And, I'm not trying to fire shots at the whole education system, but at the same time, it's like, I thought it was just because of the nature of the game, right? They're just slow to make changes. They made a pretty quick change with this whole remote learning thing, but we can't change what we study. It just blows my mind.
That's one of the positives that COVID has brought out is, people can get things done a lot quicker than you think. As you mentioned, we changed the way that education is delivered. I think what is being delivered needs to be looked at as well. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, a lot of interesting stories, a lot of innovation going on. It's hard to pick one here, but I'm thinking about, Scottsdale, the Walmart that I go to has always been the pilot store. So I'm curious to see how they have these autonomous vehicles getting loaded up and deliver the groceries to people, flipping the trunk open in the driveway. Like, next thing you know, we're going to have a Roomba pulling the groceries out and driving them into the garage. Like, it'll be interesting to see how that gets rolled out.
Yeah, no, the most interesting one to me is the whole education, getting back to Zoom education and stuff like that. It's a shame. I hope it's not detrimental to the young people's education and just what they're learning and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in again. You've been tuning in to Non-Corporate Network, the worldwide leader in entrepreneurship. This has been Entreprenews. Again, it's not free to listen. Get your debit card out. Just kidding. Just go tell an entrepreneur about us. Tell a business owner about us. We want to keep everybody woke with the undiluted real truth, the stories that matter to small business owners, and really just give you an idea of what innovation is on the wall that you need to stay ahead of and apply to your business. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Dustin, anything you want to mention?
No, appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Thanks for watching. Peace.